So I'm Bruce Kornfeld. I run marketing and product for StorMagic. My esteemed colleague here is Mark Christie. He's the brains of the organization. So he's our technical lead. He runs technical services for the company. So I will start, give the overview. And then Toby, last name for Toby? I only call him Toby, but anyway.
Tobias Föhler.
He is coming. He's on another call, but he'll be coming in towards the end. He's our local German leader. And like Fred was saying, we have some embargoed news at the end of our presentation. It'll be really clear. And Toby, I told him he can speak German, and he can go through the news with you at that time. So you'll know which piece is embargoed. And I would like really, I wasn't in the other sessions, but it sounded like there was some good interaction. I would love it if we make this interactive as possible. If I say something you don't understand or you want to ask, you want to challenge us, it's all good. We're all, challenge me, challenge Mark. We want to make it as useful for you as possible. Okay? With that, I think I went through this already. So Bruce, there's our titles, Mark Christie and Tobias. All right. So first I'll start with a little bit of who StorMagic is. We've actually been in business for 17 years. We've been selling in Germany for a while, maybe 6-7 years in Germany. So we have an established customer base in Germany and partner base. We sell through the channel only, so we're 100% channel company. And as you'll see in the press release later, that we're announcing some new customers of ours in the manufacturing sector. But we already have hundreds of customers in Germany, at least, some very big ones, so a lot of small ones. But our goal here is to make sure that the German market really understands us, and people like you can grill us with questions and ask the hard questions, and we're happy to answer. But we're all about solving the world's edge data problems. And I'd love to get feedback from the room because according to Tobias, the term edge sometimes in the German market doesn't have the same meaning maybe as in the US or in the UK. So I guess if anybody wants to chime in with a comment, but edge computing, are you finding that you're hearing more about it? Are we writing more about edge computing? Is it a hot topic here in Germany?
It is.
It is. Okay, so
what does it mean here in Germany, though? I mean, again, it's a wide spectrum of these things. What would be a typical edge?
Computing in the middle of nowhere, so to say.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, or
it's on the edge of your company's
in the industrial world, usually some device on the shop floor, which is not really connected to the central network, but also generates data, needs data, whatever, stuff like this.
Can I move this? Can I take my coat off and put this behind me? Is that okay? Sorry, I'm getting warm. I'm just going to decode
cool.
it.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I mean, it was cooler, but we had to pull it up again.
No problem. Easy enough. Yeah, so that's what we do. So when we started the company back in 2006, the term edge wasn't used, but that's what we did back then as well. What we're really good at is designing storage systems, storage software for hyperconverged, but for small. So back 10 years ago, it was more called robo, remote office, branch office. IoT really wasn't a thing back then, right? But now the newer term is edge. But the core of what we do hasn't changed, is we deliver solutions that our customers can use to store their data locally and run their applications locally, where the cloud just isn't a fit. And I've got a slide about cloud, and we can have a nice little debate if we choose to. But that's what we're all about, is solving the world's edge data problems. Our claim to fame is around high availability. So every single one of our customers, which we have thousands of, by the way, around the world, they all use us to run mission-critical applications. So if they only needed one server to run some applications, and they're okay with that server failing for a few hours or a few days, that's not our market. Our customers need to keep their systems up and running. So high availability, you'll see throughout the presentation, 2 servers, keeping systems running, both the storage and the applications. That's our sweet spot. That's what we do really, really well. And we do it, we think, better than others in the industry, and I'm happy to be challenged on that. And one of the reasons is we can put 2 servers on site for true HA instead of 3. And most vendors in our space require 3 servers. So we save our customers a lot of money because they don't have to buy that 3rd server. And whether you're a small business that has 1 location, or you're a large retailer that has 6,000 locations, they both want to save that 1 server, right? If you're a big company, instead of buying, let me get my math right, 18,000 servers, you're going to buy 12,000, which is good. But if you're a small business, instead of buying 3, you're buying 2. So that's a big reason that we're so successful is we're helping our customers save money by needing less hardware. Yes.
Can you clarify what you mean with real HA? So I know a lot of vendors that realize high availability with 2 servers, putting dual things into each of them and then have 2 for failovers. Mm-hmm. So why do you say you are the only one who do real HA?
So I'm not sure I said it that way, but maybe I did. So what I meant was that we do it with 2 servers.
Yeah. 2
servers. So 2 is hard because you can put redundant power supplies and redundant fans and redundant disk drives by using RAID. Yeah. So you can protect 1 server, but if that server fails, you need to move all of the virtual machines, all of the applications need to keep running on the other server. Doing that with 2 is hard because if 1 fails, how does this one know to take over? So there's a concept in the industry called quorum. So quorum means whenever you have a real, true, highly available cluster, you need 3 things so that there's always one that can control who survives and who takes over operations. So most of our competitors will do a 3-node for that reason. The way that and we're getting too far into the tech stuff, and I'm happy to go there now. We got slides on all of this, but we can do it with 2 nodes because we have our 3rd node is a remote, we call it a remote witness. So it's a small piece of code. It runs as a virtual machine on anything. You can run it on a tiny little piece of hardware, Raspberry Pi, a server, a desktop, it doesn't matter. So that's how we allow customers to only have 2 because we handle it's called the heartbeat. We handle the quorum with our 3rd node that's remote, low cost, and we don't even charge for it. So that's what I was trying to get at is it the differentiation is the
but
2.
I can also run that 3rd node on-prem without connection to any
Correct.
Internet, cloud, whatever.
Correct. We have a lot of customers.
So just on-site connection, of course, a LAN.
Correct.
I need a local area network.
Right. But then there's issues with local failures that could cause an outage for 2 of them. So a lot of customers go remote. But Mark can talk about this more. But yes, we have customers that put it all in 1 site because they have to. They only have 1 site.
Yeah, for security reasons, or if you have to because you're in the Arctis or wherever. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And the other, you said quorum something.
Quorum. Q-U. Quorum.
Quorum. Oh, okay, now I got it. Yeah, quorum. Yeah, now
sorry.
I got it. Okay, I'm sorry.
My German's a little bit poor, so I can't translate.
No, my ears are old.
It's what I would call eliminate any single point of failure, active, and there was going to be a 3rd thing I was going to say, enterprise grade. That witness piece, making it enterprise grade. If you think about edge environments with hurricanes rolling through.
Can you slow down?
Sorry. with hurricanes going through these edge environment systems up and down, it's that quorum logic that is the true magic behind StorMagic that really provides the enterprise grade protection that our customers use.
Yeah, and we know our customers have a lot, as you know, there's a lot of options out there for storage, for virtual storage, for hyperconverged. There's a lot of ways an end user can deploy their systems, but we're very proud of the customer base that we've built here in Germany and around the world, in that we save our customers a lot of money. Is the bottom line. They get the enterprise class high availability, but they don't have to spend a lot of money. And just to get the concept, I'll just throw it out there. 2 physical servers that they would need on site, not teeny tiny ones, but reasonably configured servers, but not big expensive ones, but an entry-level server, 2 of them, with our software and support can be purchased for about 9,000 euros per site. So, you know, if you're a big company, 9,000 euros for a full system versus, I won't throw competitors' names around, but the big guys with 40 or 50,000 euros per node, it's a big savings. It's a big saving. That's how we win a lot of business. We save our customers a lot of money that way. And I think I covered those other bullets as well. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but it's a nice logo slide to see that we do apply for and we win awards around the world. I would love to learn more of how we can do this in Germany, because we haven't really tried to focus on winning any local awards. So maybe that's a conversation we can have later. But we haven't really. I will say one of the reasons we're here today, and thanks to Fred and A3's help in setting this up, is that we plan to spend more time in Germany with analysts, bloggers, media. We just want to make sure that everyone understands what we do, and we haven't done enough of that over the last few years. So these awards probably aren't. These are more global or U.S. based. Maybe a couple of UK thrown in here because we're based in Bristol, England. So we.
British company, right?
Correct. We are a British company, but now we're global. Obviously, we have employees all over the world.
Your headquarters is still in UK?
Headquarters is UK. So our main Bristol, UK.
Which makes it all the more impressive how StorMagic now is a serious contender and player on the world stage, because how many companies that don't come out of the US make that? I mean, Israel is a hotbed of that. Eastern Europe seems to be getting there. But, you know, France, the UK, for whatever reason, you don't get a lot of those. And people forget about it, that's StorMagic, because they just assume, it has to be American because of what it's achieved. Well, actually, no.
Yeah.
So, it's quite impressive.
And this is a nice slide to give you a feel for some of our bigger, well-known brands that we've sold to over the years. As you can see, there's some pretty well-known companies out there that are trusting their important operations on a StorMagic platform with a couple of servers in every location.
Can people reference these?
The slide is being shown, and everything here is public information. So yes, yeah. So I was making another point about customers. And then the other thing is that we're very horizontal, if you will, on the industries we sell to. So it's not just a retail play. It's not just healthcare. I will say, for whatever reason, we've had a lot of success in Germany with manufacturing companies. And that's why the press release that we'll share with you later is about 2 local manufacturers. So manufacturing is a strong vertical for us here, but we have customers across the board. From talking to Toby, I understand that we sell a lot to healthcare as well as small retail here in Germany. And Toby's got a couple slides at the end to share some local customers and partners. So we'll get to that as well.
I think one of the biggest value adds that we bring is the flexibility. So referencing the different use cases, it's all about enterprise robust resiliency, but that can be a requirement across different industries, as we're showing. And the fact that we can fit into those as well as we do is a testament to the flexibility of the technology, of the software.
Yeah, and I was just looking at the time. I want to make sure I leave Mark time. Otherwise, I'll talk the whole time and there'll be no time for demo. But okay, so here's the edge computing discussion. We already kind of had it, but just so everyone's on the same page with edge computing, the way we think of it is it's really putting IT systems as close to where the data is being generated. That's the simplest way to think of it. If you think about it, the data center or the cloud isn't where data is generated. It's usually where data goes, or it's processed, or it's stored. But usually data is generated where people are or where machines are, like for manufacturing with IoT. So that's the market that we go after, is what we call edge computing. And I would love to have a discussion here if anybody wants to challenge this. I wonder if I should go on the other side maybe. Is that the cloud obviously is huge, and every single one of our customers either uses the cloud or thinks about the cloud, but cloud usage can be a lot of different things. It can be as simple as Microsoft 365. It can be Salesforce. But what we are finding is that customers, many times for these 5 reasons, can't do everything in the cloud. And they need to run applications locally for one of these reasons, like costs. I'd love to hear feedback from anyone here, but we're starting to hear about customers that have a little cloud remorse, where maybe they went too far to the cloud and now they're realizing how expensive it is. Sending data is expensive, storing data, running applications can be expensive. So cloud costs are prohibitive sometimes. Reliability, depending on where you are. We have customers that are in small towns where the internet is not reliable and it goes down. Because of our technology, we have customers that are in far remote areas like oil farms. We're on oil rigs. We're in the middle of the desert. So there's places where the internet just isn't there.
That's windmills too, by the way. Just
windmills?
To give some green credentials to that oil story.
Windmills. So a lot of times customers have to run their applications locally. For that reason, performance, cloud can perform fine, but depending on what you're doing, if you're a retailer and you want to make sure that every transaction is processed immediately, sometimes even the delay of sending data from here to the cloud is too long. Think about autonomous vehicles. You probably don't want to wait for the data to go to a cloud and back. You need everything locally. So performance can be an issue. Regulations, particularly in Europe, the US is kind of catching up to where Europe is with data and GDPR, but there's a lot of reasons sometimes where customers say, nope, I got to keep my data on site. And the last one we're seeing more of lately is end users don't want to wait for data to get to the cloud, to be processed, and then do analytics in the cloud. It just takes too long. They need to do analytics at the edge. So these are the reasons we see more and more usage of systems like ours for on-site versus the cloud. So does anyone want to chat about this, question it? Does anyone not agree? Are we seeing the same thing in the industry here? Is this making sense? Yeah? Am I talking too fast? Am I okay?
No, you're
okay.
good. I was just wondering, when you say you've seen the same thing here, but sometimes the market in Germany, obviously Germany is the largest market here in Europe, it can be different from the US. And personally, obviously, I would like to know whether anything differs, because most of the presentations I hear from clients are obviously from clients based in the US, and a lot of the information focuses on the US. So if you guys hear anything and you think that the local market is different, it would be really helpful. I think for these guys as well.
Yeah. Okay.
I might have one addition, but this might be a smaller case. I'm just thinking on several engineering offices, people who or research development stuff, who don't want to have their data somewhere where they can't control it, because it's research data, it's maybe on the way to a new product, and you have fear from Asian, Chinese, other people.
Yeah.
So this would also be a fairly good reason to keep data on site.
Completely agree. Yeah, that's a good one as well. Yeah, there's a lot of fear out there. Sorry, was there another comment? No? Okay.
No, it's just a Geschäftsgeheimnis. So we have in Germany the rule that if you do not protection on your business secrets, then it is no business secret.
Yeah, exactly.
So concerning what you can do if someone steals the data and you do not protect in the right way, then you are lost.
Right.
Concerning your rights.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, this is a differentiator for us in that we're not super interested in trying to win customers' business in the cloud or in the data center. That's a different market. We're happy for customers to go to Nutanix and VMware and whoever else to do all their large-scale data storage in their big data centers and cloud. But when it comes to small edge, we feel like we have a very strong advantage. and our customers tell us the same thing. Thanks, Mark. Okay, so these are the 6 main areas that we hear from our end users as to the problems that they see at the edge. And if you've noticed, I slipped in the word or the phrase SMB, small and medium business, because typically, like I said at the beginning, if you're a small business or a large company with thousands of sites, you're struggling with these same things. So it's a common problem set at these small sites, which is lots of sites, lots of devices, lots of data being generated. What do we do with it? How do we store it? Where does it go? Is a big one. Downtime is huge. Like I said, if they don't need 100% uptime, they're probably not talking to us. So we hear a lot of feedback around we can't have our systems down. So that's a big one. Budgets. So if you have 100 sites and you can save 5,000 euros per site, I can't do the math quickly, but it's a lot of money. I think that's 500,000 euro, right? So point is, or if you're a small business and you only have one location, would you rather spend 9,000 euro on a solution or 18,000, right? So budgets are always a problem, always constrained. Another good one is support, IT support. These small sites typically don't have talented IT people. Maybe there's like in a manufacturing plant, maybe there's an operator that can go to a server and do something, but the IT team is typically not there. Oil rig, wind farm, retail outlet. So our systems are designed to make sure that they don't need professional IT touching, physically anyway, frequently. After the install, you're fine. If a part fails, well, we have uptime, so you have a day or two to go and make sure that gets replaced.
I mean, that's the software piece at the end of the day. The term I've heard is infrastructure as code, as marketing buzz terms. I mean, software means that you can automate a lot of these things as rollouts. To give a concept to that 6,000 site use case that Bruce referenced earlier was 250 locations a week that they were rolling. These things would pop up on the network and everything automated from there. Yeah, so it's really powerful stuff when it comes to, the software abstraction layer, enabling these additional pieces for remote supportability, remote configuration. Okay.
On the 5th one there about space, it's a real thing. 3 servers take up more room than 2. A lot of times these aren't even in a nice server rack. They can be under a desk. They can be under a retail counter. They could be in a manufacturing floor. They don't have room. So the less physical space used, the better. The less power, the less cooling, etc. And then security is another good one around data security, where a lot of data security software products have been designed for the data center and the cloud. A lot of vendors are out there trying to figure out how do we help our customers protect their core. But not a lot has happened for the edge. It's a whole different world out there. A lot of it has to do with the fact that there's many locations. And also, physical security is lacking. So if you're in a data center, or if you're Amazon, everything's locked down. There's heavy steel doors that you need badges to get into, etc. Whereas in these edge sites, customers can sometimes see the servers. They can steal the servers. They can kick a server. So there's a lot of new issues that are being raised around security, and we're going to talk about how StorMagic addresses some of those. Let's see. All right, so I'm ready to start talking product stuff, but does anyone have questions for me about kind of generally what we do or why we do it? I'm happy to take a quick pause, and I also want to check the time, make sure I'm not babbling too long.
Don't worry, I'll tell you.
Well, I want to save time for him too. Yes.
Yeah, regarding the deployment. So, if there's no IT stuff on site, is it kind of zero-touch provisioning what you are offering to your customers?
Yeah, so the thing to think about is someone has to touch something because we require on-site hardware. That's our market. So, but once the hardware is installed, then it's zero touch, meaning they don't need IT people.
So you do not ship appliances pre-configured. So there's a touch anyway. So you need an internet connection. Correct. Because you cannot. It's not possible that an oil farm is configuring internet connectivity or things like that. So you have something to touch if there's no internet connectivity. in your configuration. But did I get that right? You do not ship appliances?
That's correct. We're a software company. We do not ship appliances. The way our customers deploy appliances is with our partners. So so a partner would build the appliance for the customer and install it themselves. Right.
Okay.
But we're software only, and we enable appliances, but we do not sell appliances.
Part of that value proposition around flexibility is the use case could be 100 terabytes of spinning, it could be 150 terabytes of cache, it could be 2 terabytes of NVMe, it could be anything the customer wants to shape that environment and enable what they need. And then being software, that automation and that zero-touch deployment, as I referenced, is then very quick and easy to be able to get set up.
And then the other point about it is a lot of times our customers are very handy and they can do this themselves. It's really, we've designed it so it's super easy. They can just get 2 servers, lay down VMware hypervisor or Microsoft, whichever, and then our software installs very easily. So the appliance model is interesting, but not every customer really needs it.
Yeah, but in Germany it can't be easy enough to make customers install it by themselves. So
it depends. I get it.
not every. So
I get it. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. But support is also through partners then, because there's no way to support all the kinds of hardware out there for you as a company.
Yeah.
You can be just be a third level for the software support then, but the support is through the partners.
Correct. Yeah. So we have a network of partners here in Germany, and Toby can talk more about it. Or now you're mic'd up now, but yeah. So our local partners would be the ones selling the servers with the software, so they would be responsible for supporting the whole solution.
Okay.
We support them with Mark's team back in the UK.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we do take customer calls directly as well.
Yeah.
So if a customer has an issue with our software, Mark's team is very well trained to help diagnose the problem, and if they think it's a hardware issue, we'll contact the partner and we'll work together to resolve.
Yeah.
Yep.
Makes sense. Okay, got it.
I mean,
Thank
per
you.
your piece about appliances, we partner very closely with the likes of HP, with Lenovo, with, even German partners like Thomas Krenn and things like that. So there is a close tie there. It's just trying not to be restrictive on exactly how that looks. Does that make sense? It's a balance.
Yeah, no, I was going to make one of the comments. You'll get to it in a second, but here. So we run on any hardware. So we're appliances are needed by some of our competitors because their software is kind of, it needs a certain configuration. We have very open software, very flexible. We do not care. I got a slide on this, but that's okay, I'll say it now. We don't care what the hardware is. We don't care what CPU, how much memory, what disk drives. We're very, very flexible. So that's one of the reasons why appliances aren't super required in our world, because we can run on anything, really.
And it's kind of it's a VMware image. Is it also available as a Docker image or ISO, whatever?
Yeah, we're going to get to that. We support VMware, Hyper-V, and KVM. Those are the three hypervisors.
Just the
Three main hypervisors, if you will.
Yeah. Okay.
Before I jump, anyone else want to ask a question here? Okay, so. Oh, no, go back. So what we do, simply put, is we are a virtual machine. So this is our software. We package our software as a virtual machine that runs on top of a hypervisor. We don't care any of those 3 major ones I just listed. As long as there's a hypervisor there, what we do is we provide the synchronous mirroring of all of the data between these 2 servers. So we ensure for our customers that if there's an outage on either side, that the storage is still running and the virtual machines can automatically fail over and keep running. So the customers do not see any downtime, applications keep running, and we've provided that storage infrastructure to be able to do that. So that's kind of, now we're getting down into how our product works. That's at a high level, that's how we do things.
I mean, as an additional point you were referencing about real HA, that 6,000 site customer does FT protection on the guest, so it's a zero downtime failure in that scenario as well. So it just depends on what the customer requires. We fit into all of these, and that's that piece about bringing data center level functionality out to those edge environments.
I think I've talked through the rest of this enough here, but I think it goes without saying that with this model, with HCI, we eliminate the need for external storage. So the customers would take 2 physical servers, put as much storage inside it as they want, and we cluster them together, so they no longer need to buy that third box. That would be a physical SAN. Now, physical SANs are still selling. There's billion-dollar companies that sell these big hardware-based SANs, and they're great products. They're not needed for the edge. Data centers need them. The cloud needs big, massive storage farms, but at the edge, the storage that fits inside the server is usually plenty. In fact, our average license size is about 10 terabytes. That's it. Now we have some with 50 and 100 and 200, and we have some with 2, but in general about 10. So it's not a lot of data. At the edge, they need high availability, they need uptime, they need easy, but they don't have petabytes at the edge. They have terabytes. So that's why HCI at the edge works really well in this model.
The main differences, if you're using a VMware vSAN solution, it also starts with two nodes and a remote witness, so they came into your direction.
Yeah.
I think they do not the synchronous mirroring, that's for sure, but is this one of the main differentiating points?
Excellent question, and I'm going to get to it actually right now, I think. So go to the next slide. Go to the, oh no. Let me just think for a second how I want to do this. Yeah, just give me, I will answer you, just give me a couple slides here. So this is kind of high level, but this is when we talk to customers, when we talk to the industry, these are our key value propositions. Super flexible, and I'm going to show you some examples here, but any server, any CPU, AMD, Intel, any amount of cache, NVMe, we don't care what the storage is. It can be spinning disk, SSD, completely open. Simplicity, so we've designed this, like I said, so that it can be installed by a customer if they choose, but even so, our partners, it's very, very easy to do. And as a matter of fact, I'll share a story that Toby was telling me that when he first joined StorMagic a few years ago, one of his first assignments from his boss was call all of our installed customers and make sure we get the renewal, because the way we sell is a software license and an annual maintenance contract. So Toby, go get the maintenance renewals going, right? And he's calling customers, and most of them didn't even remember who we were because they installed us, and it's been running all these years, but they forgot about us. So it's just, I tell that story because it's just shows how simple our product is. It doesn't need to be touched every day or every week. It just, you install it, it does its job of the mirroring, and then it basically just enables HA, and customers don't have to touch it. So that's the whole simplicity thing that I'm trying to get at. The robust, we talked a lot about, highly available, and then cost effective. I should have changed that to say under 9,000 euro. Sorry for the American dollars. I know it's very offensive, but no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I won't spend a lot of time on this because we already talked about it, but this is the main thing that we do, the high availability with 2 nodes. Now I'm going to answer your question on the next slide. We do offer an optional 3-node configuration, just like you were mentioning. Do you support the 3rd node being on set? And we do. Some customers do this. Most of the time, it's when they're truly paranoid about outages, and they don't want to lose a node and be stuck with only having one, because if you lose that second one, then you're dead. So some customers that have the budget will say, sure, I'm going to put a 3rd node, and this way, if you lose a node, there's still a highly available pair running. And I will say that we're the only ones that I know of that can survive 2 node failures and applications still run, starting with only 3 nodes. The large guys out there usually need to start with 4 nodes or 5 even in order to survive a 2-node failure and keep on running. And that's because I think you were getting at it, why do we have 2 and them 3? And I'm going to get to that on the next slide. And the way we do all of this with resiliency, I mentioned the remote witness. So yeah. So here's the answer to your question. Our witness, this is our secret sauce, and this is why we're able to beat. Since you mentioned vSAN, I'll go for the vSAN example, because our architecture is synchronous mirroring between two nodes, and it's very high performance and it's very simple. So simple code, very lightweight code. Our whole SvSAN stack is 45 meg. How much?
The boot drive, the RAM disk that we run in, and this comes to a terminology thing you were saying about appliances. In my world, that's the appliance. It's 512 megabytes.
512 megabytes is our whole
it's a tiny
stack.
little machine.
Whereas I don't know what vSAN is, but I suspect it's 10x that size, right? So we're very lightweight because we're doing a synchronous mirror. We've got IP around intellectual property, around cache coherency. So when an I/O goes from server 1 to server 2, it's hitting cache, but we're making sure that those I/O bits are written to disk before we release to the next I/O. So it's a true enterprise-grade HA. The difference is that our competitors typically don't use this synchronous mirroring. They use technology that's usually called erasure coding, right? And erasure coding requires RAID on the network. So between the three nodes, you're sending all of the I/O around, and there's a lot more traffic. There's a lot more complexity in the software, and it requires three nodes. So now to answer your question, our witness is remote, and it's very successful because it's not in the data path. So VMware's 2-node is a good solution. They do have a remote witness, but it requires the data to go to that third node remote. So what does that mean? It means they need a very fast network connection, at least a gigabit, maybe more, but at least a gigabit connection so that the remote witness in a VMware environment doesn't slow down performance. Our remote witness is just a heartbeat. So our engineers designed this so that the remote witness, which can manage 1,000 sites just from this small little VM thing, I'm sure it's on the slide somewhere, 1,000 sites, all it's doing is checking heartbeat. So it goes to site 1, server 1, are you alive? Yep, I'm alive, good. Server 2 is alive. So all we're doing is checking whether servers are up and running. If they're not, then the witness knows how to communicate with the surviving server to say, take over. So we're not in the data path. So our remote witness is a single VM that can manage up to 1,000 sites. I've lost track of where vSAN is. I think they can do 64 maybe, but I forget. Maybe it's 128. But again, the difference is a customer that deploys vSAN would need a whole server infrastructure in a data center somewhere just for the witnesses.
Let alone the bandwidth that would consume out of that data center for all of those metadata things that are going on. Thinking about the use cases, the 1,000-site petrol filling station chain or something similar. You divide 1,000 by 64, how many of those witnesses do you need? And latency requirements, megabits per second of metadata that's going over it, it's just too heavy for the edge. It's a great data center solution. vSAN across 3 to 32 is a fantastic piece of kit, but as an edge solution, it's heavy, it's cumbersome, it's technically, it's not even necessarily around license cost, it's solution technical cost, the whole stack, being able to solve those problems.
Yeah, and I'd say the biggest differentiator between us and those guys and most others is that ever since 2006, we designed for this use case. We designed for small edge robo. Everyone else has taken their data center solution. Like, vSAN's great. It can scale to hundreds of nodes. But when you try to take that solution and put it to the edge, it's overkill. It's expensive and it requires a lot more hardware. And to Mark's point, a lot of networking connection that we do not. And here's the network connection bit. It's kind of interesting. 9 kilobit per second. That's all our witness requires. 9 kilobit, which is like a cell phone connection. So it's very light requirements on networking.
Is the mirroring done between the two nodes over the Ethernet network, or?
The mirroring?
The mirroring,
Yeah,
you have to mirror all data between the two nodes. I think that's also some bandwidth that you need when you have heavy workloads on the one side.
It's a connection. It's a physical connection between the two nodes.
You can control what interface traffic goes over. So typically in these two-node configs, that's a couple of direct connect links between these two servers, but you can make it what you like with data locality. We have many use cases where they'll stretch them to different rooms, different buildings, across cities, for example, for water systems and SCADA systems and things like this. We'll do then stretch clustering as well. So
Mark's team works with our partners and our end users to configure it, but if it's going to be in the same building, it's a simple back-to-back Ethernet cable, and that's it. So you can do local, really high performance. If they're going a longer distance, then there's some math you have to do to make sure that the I/O can make it in time. Yeah.
We recommend less than 20 milliseconds of latency for the replication. Now, the reads will occur internal, so the reads don't see any of that. It's only the writes that are then hitting that, so we recommend less than 20 milliseconds. But it is then synchronous, so it's minimum 1 gig. But you can imagine with those stretch clusters, modern networks, things like that, I have customers that will do the length of Norway, for example. So absolutely, you can do those stretch clustering configs. The edge use cases tend to be, as we say, a little, I don't know, a DL360, a DL380 equivalent with a couple of back-to-back links, and you're off to the races from there. But it just depends on the use case. Does that help?
Yes.
Perfect.
And then the last point on this slide I've already talked about, but reducing costs by at least 33%. That comes from the fact that it's 2 servers instead of 3. So I know this is kind of a technical slide, but this is kind of core to what we do that's different. Does anyone want to ask anything else about it before we move on? Both of you raised your hands.
You first.
You told us you have this witness device, and this is pinging more or less the servers. So now, if the network connection is down and the witness device can't reach any of those 2 nodes, can the cluster itself decide it is still running? So is there a heartbeat between the cluster nodes itself?
So we publish all of the failure scenarios online. So we'll link that across. We'll make sure that you get all of those. You can handle a node loss and then a witness loss, no problem at all. So the common scenario with these environments, again, petrol filling station chain, retail, store manufacturing, is you've lost a node, you've got a break fix, you've got a 4-hour response, but actually you've lessened that to a 24-hour response because of the budget constraints from higher up. Yeah. Other technologies, you'd be dependent on that WAN to be live until you get that break fix, because you can handle one failure. With SvSAN, node failure, witness, we're still good. We know we're the leader, continues to run. Your scenario, if the witness is down, so you've got a WAN isolated environment, then you have a node failure, no, we will protect the data at that point. We will suspend the I/O and automatically recover when the networking is restored.
But the cluster is still running now.
Yeah, as long as the cluster is intact,
precisely.
But only the witness is failing, the cluster will still...
Any single point of failure, double failure, node, then witness, we're also good. Okay, so double failure, node, then witness, we're online. So as I say, what that enables is, taking the pressure off of that break fix, because they're all then, up and running and continuing to run. A lot of the issues over COVID was hardware supply chain issues. So we were referencing about appliances. Oh, I can't get that specific CPU. Well, just pick a different one. It makes no odds to us. Huge value prop. Taking the pressure off of the support. I can't get a disk for another 3 weeks from Dell because they can't get one to me. Doesn't matter. I'm up and running. I know I'm okay. So that those delays are less of a factor to you. That's absolutely what we're all about. Okay?
And I think you had one too.
I still don't understand why you're using this witness concept. So I think there are possibilities to build high availability clusters with just a heartbeat between the 2 nodes.
It's all about network isolations. Again, if you think about edge environments, stuff will happen. Networks will blip. Systems will go up and down. Systems will have issues. Therefore, you need this quorum logic, this enterprise grade. Anything that is suggesting that they can do 2 and be enterprise grade, I would question in detail as to whether they are suited to the edge.
Okay.
Yeah, so is there another... I understand your point. I think there are some companies out there that have said, oh, we've got a 2-node HA and it works just fine. There are scenarios that if a server fails, the surviving server, how does it know to take over? That's the issue, is that that server doesn't know. It might still be running, but the failed VMs, virtual machines from the failed side, they don't know where to go. right? They haven't been told. No one, they don't know where to go.
I know scenarios where they do know where to go, and they work pretty well. But maybe it's not for this round. Maybe we should discuss
when we
this
have a drink,
in
I'd like
another
to hear.
session. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, if you think about these systems, it's up and down like a yo-yo with environment power failures and things like that. Question some of those. Question network isolations with those other vendors, please.
Next, I'm sorry, any other questions before we move on? All right, let's keep going. I forgot how many slides. So I think we're going to go pretty quickly here. So this is just a quick graphic just to remind everyone that this is a hyperconverged solution to servers. You do not need the extra disk drive in a physical SAN. Yeah. So reducing CapEx. Yeah, so this is a big one, a little bit more detailed than before, but this is, again, how we save our customers a lot of money. The 2 servers is the biggest one because they eliminate the need for a server. But the second one we haven't really talked about is we only require a single virtual CPU for our solution. Most other solutions out there have a processing requirement that can start at 10% of the full processor, 20%. We just need one virtual CPU. So again, very lightweight. We're leaving more of the customer's investment in their hardware to use to run their applications. Very lightweight. And we only need 1 gigabyte of memory. Our competitive systems typically, I think, start at 32 gig. And again, for the data center, 1 gig, 32 gig doesn't matter because they have billions of gig in the data center. But for the edge, we designed this so that the cost can be as low as possible, keep the hardware costs low, save our customers money, but still enable HA.
Is it running as virtual machine on the?
Yes, so we run as a...
Are writing vCPU, so that means it's a virtual machine that is using one vCPU of my hypervisor that I'm running on.
Correct. When we set up our installation, I mean, Mark doesn't have time today to show you a setup and an install, I don't think, but yeah, virtual... We run as a VM, and we request 1 virtual CPU. You can allocate more than 1, but in typical, our customers just go with 1. Keep it simple. And then again, on storage types, we haven't talked about it a lot, but we don't care what goes inside the box. It can be any brand, spinning disk, SATA, fiber channel, SSDs, NVMe, mix and match, whatever you need. One other thing that I forgot to mention, I don't think we have a slide on it, is another differentiator we have is that these 2 servers do not need to be the same at all. So they can be different vendors, they can be different configurations, they can have different firmware levels. That's unheard of in this space. Typically what happens is it's a new deployment and each server has to be the same, down to the firmware level, the drivers of everything needs to be all identical. It's indifferent to us. We don't care. So our vendor, our reseller partners like this because they can go into an account that has a single server. Maybe it's Lenovo, doesn't matter, let's just say Lenovo, but the customer wants to move to highly available. They want to add the second server. They don't need to buy 2 new ones. We can bring HPE in the door and cluster a Lenovo with an HPE or a Lenovo and a Dell. An old one with a new one, doesn't matter. Now Mark is cringing over there a little bit because you have to be careful to not put 6 SSD drives clustered with 2 spinning drives because your performance will be unbalanced, but within reason we can make it work to make sure there's a balanced system. Keep going. I think we talked through all of this today. Yep, keep going.
I mean, the only comment I would make here, we reference 10%, that's typically vSAN out of your system resources. It means that we can run on lighter weight systems, even down to things like HP microserver or ST50s on the compute side. The other piece that we do here, and you referenced about pure 2-node, what that means is they'll be doing full copies whenever anything happens. An edge environment, again, what that means is your storage performance is impacted after those failures. We'll do quick resyncs, lightweight resyncs whenever possible to be able to get it back into that good state, get it resilient as quickly as possible. So for this one, say you've got 100 terabytes of storage and you're having to fully copy that any time you have a network blip or any time a node goes up and down, that starts to have an impact on your operational overheads of when you can do maintenance. Whereas again, this is much lighter weight, much less impactful, meaning that you can do those patches in production hours. Does that help?
The other thing I want to point out is I think it's VMware, requires 1 SSD drive. Microsoft requires 4. And we can run on a single spinning drive if we need to, right? So it's a flexible story for our customers. It's a cost story. They don't need to spend a lot of money on hardware. And that's how we're winning so much business here in Germany and around the world. I'm trying to speed up a little bit so we give you time here. This is a nice picture slide, I think, that we've already talked through. So we don't care about the server brand or the configuration. The hypervisors we support, VMware, Microsoft, and KVM. And then we haven't talked a lot about this, but in general, most of our installs are HCI. 2 servers, hypervisor, running virtual machines. That's our bread and butter. But we do have some customers that do this, which is they take 2 high-performance servers and they put a petabyte of storage and they use us as a SAN. And then they attach servers to us on top. It's not the main use case, but it is an option for our customers.
That becomes more the blade infrastructure, the slightly more data center focused, the HP synergies where we're sharing out to a bunch of external other stuff as well.
Super common for us. All right, and then, so we talked about data and security. So the way that we help our customers at the edge is we do enable encryption. So we have built-in data encryption. So it's a licensable feature that our customers can purchase. And we are not dependent on self-encrypting disk drives. So we're doing the encryption generation ourselves. And we allow a customer to use any disk drive they want. There are some storage systems out there that do encryption, but they require self-encrypting drives, which is nothing wrong with it, but those drives are more expensive, and sometimes they're hard to find. And we find that our customers like this concept where we're generating all of the encryption and we're writing to any disk drive that they want. And if any of you are familiar with how encryption works, whenever you encrypt something, you need to have a key to unlock it. So what we do for keys is we use a third-party protocol like everyone else does called KMIP, and we have our own key manager that's called SvKMS. It's a different product. Today wasn't designed to go through all of it, but the net of it is we do offer our customers an enterprise-grade encryption key manager to manage all of their keys, whether it's from StorMagic or from any other encryption they're doing in their environment. So we do have another product called SvKMS. We'll have to do another Tech Live someday with SvKMS.
Maybe. But you should remove this data destruction on failed drives not needed, because someone out there will decrypt your files.
Data
somewhere, somehow.
On failed drive. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, they're encrypted, right? So every bit of data...
someone will find ways to decrypt it. Okay. Somewhere, somehow. Just remove it.
Fair feedback.
Forewarned is forearmed.
Not the right message.
If that's still on the slide, next time we come, we're going to get yelled at. I think.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Spend too much time in marketing.
No problem. All right, and then easy to grow. So there's 2 main ways our customers will grow with us. Either they can expand out or scale up capacity by adding storage to a node. Adding more storage, very, very easy. There's no downtime, not a problem. But we also support scaling out for compute. And when we say scaling out, that just means adding more virtual machines. A lot of customers want to put more than 2 nodes worth of compute on our cluster. Not a problem. They can add a 3rd node, a 4th node, a 16th node, doesn't matter. And we allow them to access the same storage pool. And we do not require any additional SvSAN licensing. Whereas if you're running in a vSAN environment, they're going to license every single node. We're happy to say, here's an iSCSI share, come and get it. Whatever server you want can access our storage. So that's a scale out. And I think we're kind of rolling towards the end here of my stuff. So here's 2 quick examples. I think we'll skip through here for time, but there's a couple examples. This is a retail one where we'd have thousands of sites, and they would literally run every, this mic is bugging me a little bit, I think it's falling or something, but they would run every application that they need for that store. All of their stores would run all of the local applications. It's all managed centrally by us, by our software, as well as the customer. And if you go to the next slide, this is a more more deployed example, because we have more customers that are small than we do large. So again, it's a simple 2-node solution, and again, they're running all of their local applications. So we're designed, oops, oh, there we go. Ooh, feels good. It's designed to be able to run what they need for their business locally. Of course, they may have a cloud application on top of this, but usually they're running most everything they need on 2 servers. Pricing slide. So this is, again, I told you the overall solution price, but the StorMagic component, it's a perpetual license, so it's a software license, $1,440 US. Sorry, I didn't do the euro conversion there. We'll call it $1,000, 1,000 euros, approximately. I'm pretty good. I bet you it's 1,000 or 1,100 per node. So per node. So if you think about it, you know whatever you're going to.
1,323 euro.
1,300?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I get it. Yeah, my math wasn't good. So 1,300.
I didn't need to show you out though.
No, it's okay. I get it. It's 1.1 is the conversion. So that's the software license. We do license by terabyte. So that's the lowest one, which is 2 terabytes. We also license 6, 12, and then unlimited. So depending on where they go. But this is our entry price point, which as you can tell is quite attractive. And then we also offer maintenance contracts on top of that, gold and platinum. Okay, next slide. I think I'm wrapped. Yeah, so I'm going to let Mark get up here, but just as a kind of quick summary here, we're designed for edge and SMB like we keep talking about. 2 servers is our key claim to fame here. The tiny witness is how we do it. Super lightweight witness that can manage up to 1,000 sites. We don't require a lot of hardware. We save our customers a lot of money. Data encryption for security. So while you get set up, Fred, should he stay there, I guess, to do his demo if he needs to?
It's easier than holding the laptop.
Yeah, okay, so he's going to stay there. What other questions can I answer? What didn't we talk about you'd like to ask?
Do you have recommendation for disk drive configuration in this node, running RAID 5 or RAID 1 or something special?
That's a good question. Yeah, so Mark and his team always help with the best way to configure. Thanks for reminding me. Most of our customers use a hardware RAID card, right, to configure the drives, RAID 5, RAID 10, whatever they want. But what we're seeing lately is servers are getting small, particularly edge servers from HPE and Lenovo. Sometimes they don't have a hardware RAID option. So they're either going to use Intel or AMD's RAID on the motherboard, but that can be expensive and that can consume CPU. So another thing we offer is software RAID. So our customers don't need a hardware RAID card. They can use our software RAID, which we support 0, 1, and 10. So that's another option for our customers. But to answer, I think your real question was the configuration. It depends on what they need for performance, but we'll work with them on number of drives. Do you want to do RAID 10 striping? Do you want to do RAID 5, RAID 50? And I'm sure there's guidelines that your team... No, there you go. And this is public information or not?
This is the public HP version of what we also have as a StorMagic document.
We can send this out if you're interested. This is sizing guides.
You can just Google PS Now and StorMagic, but they're just example configs. Again, the value prop is the flexibility. These are some good examples that are based off of real customers. But they just fit in with the licensing brackets at the end of the day. And if a customer needed a higher CPU core count, well, stick a higher CPU in there. If they wanted to do AMD rather than Intel, swap it. It makes no odds. It's again, that piece of software flexibility, I guess. So example configs, and in our customer-facing portal, again, that's something that we could potentially give access to. We have effectively performance metrics run against a number of different systems and setups and everything else to give an idea of the kind of capabilities that you're going to see. The value prop of flexibility is great, but obviously a single spinning drive is not going to perform the same as multiple NVMe disks. But again, I mean, I can do you 100,000 IOPS. It's more than enough for the edge environment. No problem at all. So just to show you a typical customer environment, okay, so if I were to hook up to one of my 3,000 site retailers, for example, they would typically have a data center VCSA that handles all their internal web stuff and backup and everything else, and then like a stores VCSA or robo VCSA or whatever you want to call it. We then have our plugin. We have a plugin virtual machine that's remote certified and all that good stuff. That comes along and pushes this into vCenter, so your vCenter patching is really, really easy. And what this then enables is our deployment, storage provisioning, monitoring, management, all of that good stuff, single pane of glass. So we're within VMware's sort of plugin architecture, but the plugin gives you wizard-based deployment and storage provisioning and appliance restore as well. Now, you mentioned the word appliance. I love this industry. In my world, the appliance is this guy here. Okay, this is this virtual machine, this lightweight sort of console view of this storage appliance that sits out there and does what it does. Provides that storage, it number crunches, it encrypts data, it does everything that it needs to. And saying, just to back up the figures, be it that it's in VMware, Hyper-V, KVM, take your pick, it's the same resources. It's one vCPU. It would be 1 gig of RAM. I have 32 assigned to this to be a memory-based read cache off of each system. The 512 meg boot drive that I referenced, that 20 gig journal, that's that change block tracking. Again, if I have 500 terabytes of data behind this thing, if I take a node up and down, I don't want to copy that every time. That's going to sit there for days at a time. So this is quick resyncs. This is, really important. And anything that doesn't have quorum logic can't do this because you might lose IOs in flight. Yeah?
Guys, can you all hear Mark well? Or is he talking a little bit quietly?
Reasonable?
So
I can speak up, that's fine. Hint taken, thank you. Okay. We can then see the SAN storage that we have assigned to these. So I have some spinning drive and some flash. Now, you were referencing, I think, about where the traffic was flowing. Fundamentally, it's a simple network interface, and I can control with flags. This is a management interface. This is a storage presentation interface. This is a synchronization interface. You just control it with flags. One interface could do everything, or you can spread it over multiple. Okay, so that can be 10 gig back to back, as we've referenced. It can be Ether channel, it can be bonded links. You can do whatever you choose with that virtual networking topology. But we have, again, in the support portal, a number of sort of typical examples of what we see. And most commonly, that's some back to back direct links that, per the 6,000 site one, I've got 10 gig, and they would share that with the FT traffic as well. So share our storage traffic with the FT traffic in that scenario as well. Other bits. I mentioned about appliance restore. So again, saying about the appliance model, if you were to delete one of these things, they back up their configuration to each other. So if you were to ship a new box to a location, do a box swap, you can then very quickly build another one from the surviving software appliance on the box, get you back into a highly available configuration very quickly and easily. A lot of my customer environments are supported by third parties like Capgemini and Kyndryl and TCS, Tata, all these other companies that have sort of passed that out. So again, this is really easy for those guys to consume, manage, monitor, and have out there in these robo environments as well. Now, I referenced about the storage that I had within the systems, because what I have is my sort of local boot drives, think your BOSS adapters or your M2 boot in this scenario. I then have my SvSAN storage, this one here. Now, in this case, that's the flash that's hosting my guest VMs. What I also then have, as an example, is actually some storage that's spinning in these systems, that's mirrored by ourselves and presented up to a compression and dedupe appliance to then have as your VM backup within the same system and be able to integrate with a Veeam or something similar, or GreenLake backup as a service or whatever it might be, to have an on-prem backup and then backup out to the cloud as well, perhaps. So again, software flexibility, integrate with whatever backup vendor, integrate with whatever hardware, spec the system appropriate to your requirements and your use case as a customer. So most of my multi-sites will look very similar. They cookie cutter. But actually a number of our franchise-based customers will t-shirt size. They'll have a small, medium, and large that they can then throw out into different environments. Yeah, make sense? So alongside that plugin view and the appliance itself, the plugin view giving you, forgive me, flicking around just a little bit here, this sort of restore mechanism that I've referenced there, the storage provisioning to be able to manage and destroy and grow within systems and everything else. We have the appliances themselves that are here, currently doing a resync of that 6 terabytes at, what's that, 300, 400 megabytes per second on those spinners, very nice. We can see within here that software RAID that we were referring to. And the reason that I reference that is my 6,000 site use case has a couple of SSDs and a software RAID 1 by ourselves. That's a couple of 6 terabytes. I had a customer a couple of weeks back with 15 terabyte SSDs that they were going to throw out there. Flash is getting bigger, it's cheaper, it's, you don't necessarily need the complexity of hardware RAID, or even things like erasure coding and all these other things, when you can have a couple of 15, 20 terabyte disks within a system and throw all your storage at it. For these edge environments, it's perfect. It's performant, it's fast, and it's simple, and that's what you need when you're going to get to the scale of these environments. And when I say scale, I don't mean within, I mean the number of them. Per your queries around those traffic flags, you can see I can just mouse over these guys and see how they're set up and configured. We get visibility then through VMware as to what's connected to what. And we also then have our dashboard view. Now, the reason that I reference that is the plugin that you were just seeing on that data center is one location. It's everything within that data center object. This is architected for robo-scale. Doesn't need to be, but it's architected that way such that if I hook up to, a Home Depot, you put the logo up there, that you would effectively see multiple data centers. This is distribution center 100, this is store 200, this is whatever. You select that location and you can see everything within that environment rather than getting the entirety of the estate. This dashboard view is there to give you everything, is to give you that single pane of glass filterable list that I can go, okay, out of my 2,000 appliances, software appliances, I can filter and find that these ones are in a warning, these ones are in an error, these ones have had an issue very quickly as a third-party support provider, such as PointNext or GreenLake or whatever it might be able to get in here and get the visibility into what's going on with the systems. Obviously, there's all the alerting mechanisms as well that you can integrate with ServiceNow and everything as you need to also. Within here, the final piece just to touch on, to be able to give Toby an opportunity to talk about the embargoed piece, is obviously management and maintenance. Now, a lot of our customers will tie in with VMware updates. So as VMware roll a new release, and again, this is infrastructure, there's a good element out there of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and don't touch it, and leave it running forever. But as they roll forward to VMware 7 and then 8 and everything else, they can do these live updates, and we tie in with the VCG and everything else. But this then allows you to schedule the SvSAN upgrade alongside your VMware upgrades as well. So Friday night at 10 o'clock, upgrade sites 1 through 100 as a smart upgrade to make it all nice and easy and non-disruptive, and produce you a report on the other side. Okay, please.
How are you handling the guest VM workloads? Because when I have a 2-node ASX cluster, and normally I have this distributed resource scheduling, so that both nodes are actively working, 2 virtual machines on the left node, 2 on the right node. You are doing synchronous mirroring, so do you do it in both directions, or do you only have one node and all virtual machines must run on one node?
We are active-active. It is a true active-active cluster. So as part of this, it is just an MPIO switchover as you restart the appliances. The compute doesn't need to change at all. As your VMware goes down, yes, you would migrate and switch your guests, but on our side, if you're just upgrading our appliances, what the hosts actually see on our side is a single disk, but with a path to each side of that storage. So if I take a look here, if one of those goes away, one of those appliances, we just lose a path to that side, and IOs are undisrupted.
So customers do run live applications on both servers, active VMs on both, mirroring across.
And when my ESX crashes completely, then the other node takes over the VMs that were running as it's like
that's a HA, that's a HA.
Correct.
Or with FT, you've got that zero downtime as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and FT becomes more important at the edge for the lightweight resources as well. Okay, so where that one vCPU comes in because you're duplicating your guests, that lightweight message becomes more important as well.
In my mind, I have this storage system mirroring. You have always primary side and passive side. So
none of that.
So, but that's
active, live at all times.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Okay.
So is this one single file system, active, or do you have two file systems? Like DLBD, which is syncing crossover.
So we are block the entire way down.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's just the VMFS. So what the host sees is the same disk, the same data store, the same file system. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Good question, though. Nice. And then also just to touch on it about data locality, just where we were referencing about the stretched clusters. If I expand this out, this will be the appliance local on that host as the active I/O path. And this one here will have its active I/O path as the local appliance. So that's those internal reads. Now again, if I'm external, I can do round robin, I can do whatever I like with that disk, but we enable this data locality. That becomes very important if you stretch those servers, if you put them in different locations. Okay. Awesome stuff. Any
other questions for Mark? Anything that you're curious about?
So I describe it as does what it says on the tin. And it does it very well, hence being out there in 3,000 sites, 1,000 sites, 6,000 sites, and that can be true then of a nuclear power station, which we're in, and, various secure government environments and things like that as well.
Yeah, we're also in a lot of airports, by the way. We have a lot of, mission critical environments that we're in already. I was going to mention, Mark did a good job kind of giving you an overview here. The product is very simple to install and use, but for the inclined, there's a lot that it's a very enterprise grade product with lots of knobs and whistles and bells that you can turn, but it's not needed to be touched very often, right? Wouldn't you say a customer sets this up, they set up the targets, away they go, and they leave it alone for months, if not sometimes years, just let it run. Yeah.
Und die zwei Kunden, die wir jetzt beziehungsweise dann jetzt noch unter Embargo Ihnen schon mal präsentieren dürfen, ist WST, ist ein Automobilzulieferer, auch aus dem Schwarzwald, macht Drehteile, Automationsteile. Da war zum Beispiel auch die Sache, er hat zum Beispiel in Solar investiert. Da ist auch alles in Richtung Energiesparen ausgelegt. Und ich habe mir dann mal erklären lassen, ja, warum denn eigentlich dann StorMagic zum Beispiel, um auch dort im Datacenter Energie zu sparen. Alles das, was sie vorher hatten mit 2 Applikationsserver und ein dickes SAN, das hat Energie gekostet ohne Ende. Klimatisierung, die Netzteile an sich waren immer unter Volllast, weil die ganzen Disks wollen gedreht werden und so weiter und so fort. Die haben damit natürlich ihre Energiekosten gesenkt, zum einen. Zum anderen haben sie sich verschlankt. Sie hatten mehr Platz im Rack für ein paar andere Dinge, die sie dann vielleicht noch zusätzlich brauchten. Genauso wie bei Witholz, was ein Produktionsunternehmen ist für Holzteile, Holzproduktion, klassisch Balken und so weiter, machen dort einen individuellen Zuschnitt, für den ihre Kunden diese weltweit bedienen, sind auch in mehreren Standorten unterwegs und da war es auch ähnlich. Wieder kaum Platz, Energie muss gespart werden, wir müssen wieder neu investieren. Wir möchten nicht mehr ein zentralisiertes SAN, wir brauchen aber Hochverfügbarkeit, heißt, ich kann es nicht doppelt nebendran stellen, weil ich einfach das Budget dafür nicht habe. Nicht ausgeben kann, weil die Zeiten sind eben, wie sie gerade aktuell sind, dass jeder Euro letztendlich irgendwo zählt und jedes gesparte Kilowatt an Energie ist bares Geld für jedes Unternehmen. Und wenn ich dann gucke auf die Serverkonfiguration, nahezu ist es identisch. Der Systemhauspartner, der uns dort ins Spiel gebracht hat und der stark ist im Schwarzwald mit seinen Kunden, setzt wirklich immer auf nahezu dieselbe Konfiguration. HP DL385, VMware als Hypervisor, 2x256 GB, 6 TB an Storage, 10 Gigabit Netzwerkinfrastruktur zwischen den beiden Servern, direct attached. Fertig hat der Mittelständler sein Datacenter auf wirklich schmalen, aber extrem soliden Füßen mit uns. Selbiges bei WST. Auch hier wieder synchroner Spiegel. Natürlich, klar, logisch, auch da ähnliche Hardware-Konfiguration, da ist ein bisschen mehr Storage, in dem Fall mit 36 Terabyte und 25 Gig Netzwerk, weil da war ein bisschen mehr Performance vonnöten, weil CAD-Anwendungen, entsprechend Drehteile-Produktion und Co. Da braucht man ein bisschen mehr Dampf. Hier ist es All-Flash mit 25 Gig Netzwerk.
Gig, not meg. As the pedantic person.
Gig, ja.
Gigabyte.
Gigabyte. Exactly.
Speak German, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've taught him. Next slide.
And then I think we had partners, I thought. Yeah.
Ja. Partnerinfrastruktur, ich denke, viele sind bekannt davon, die wir im deutschen Markt natürlich bis jetzt haben. Wir haben auch viele kleine mittelständische Systemhauspartner. Vielleicht einer, der sich zum Beispiel, um Ihnen auch da mal ein Gefühl wieder dafür zu geben, das ist die Mate, relativ frisch mit dazugekommen. Die haben den Fokus auf ERP-Systeme, die sind nur für ERP-Systeme zuständig, mit dem lokalen deutschen Anbieter Amas. Und die müssen für ihre Kunden ein Out-of-the-Box-System liefern, ERP-System auf einem separaten Server-Storage-System. Und da kamen wir mit ins Spiel, weil der Hardware-Partner, mit dem wir ja auch verbandelt sind, mit der HPE zum Beispiel, ein Produkt abgekündigt hat, was denen natürlich auch wieder wehgetan hatte in dem Fall, wo es darum ging, einfach auch ein äquivalentes Produkt zu haben, was sie da dagegen austauschen können. Und da waren wir definitiv mit in der absolut engeren Wahl, weil wir einfach mit diesem Zwei-Knoten-System und ja, überzeugen letztendlich. Und vor allem, wenn man sich mal überlegt, dass was wir an Hardware-Ressourcen konsumieren und was wir für Leistung bringen für den Kunden, kann man wirklich sagen, 99% von einem mittelständischen Unternehmen oder von einer Edge oder auch von einem großen Unternehmen wie jetzt ThyssenKrupp, dieser Invest an Hardware steht dann wirklich zu 99% für den Applikationsbetrieb zur Verfügung. Nicht sowas, wie ich es persönlich sehe, was selbstverständlich ist wie Speicher. Speicher muss da sein, Speicher muss funktionieren, es muss hoch verfügbar sein. Ich brauche das, um lauffähig zu sein. Und ich kann nicht mich unbedingt auf Latenzen, Cloud und Co. immer verlassen. Manchmal muss es einfach da sein und ja, funktionieren. Natürlich haben wir auch ein Partnernetzwerk im Sinne von, weil wir 100%ig im Channel arbeiten, haben wir unsere 3 Distributionspartner, die Biotech, die Preanto und die Extra-Computer, und natürlich technologisch habe ich Ihnen da 4 Logos mit rausgepickt, mit denen wir da zusammenarbeiten. Das ist die Lenovo, die HPE, Schneider Electric, APC, weil auch die adressieren ein super interessantes Geschäftsfeld. Die machen nicht nur diese USV-Kisten, sondern die sind ja auch ganz viel in dem ganzen, wie nennt sich's, elektronischen Bereich für Hausautomation und Energieeffizienz und so weiter tätig. Und auch da, ob man es glaubt oder nicht, entstehen Daten. Auch da möchte irgendwas hoch verfügbar gehalten werden, weil wenn ich dann irgendwann nicht mehr mit meiner App oder sonst irgendwie was, mein Licht, meine Aircondition und so weiter steuern kann, stehe ich auch irgendwann mal da. Genau.
I just close to say thanks for joining and hanging in there and paying attention and asking good questions. We appreciate it. We're excited about what we've done within the DACH region in Germany in particular, and we've got lots more things coming. I expect to be back here, in the next few months to announce some new products that we've got. So you'll be seeing and hearing from us more and more. So we're excited.